I'm focusing on SD-WAN security that everybody before me touched on. We've talked to customers who have been traveling all year since we started this SD-WAN security project since last October. Talked to hundreds of customers, and we folded all of the use cases into these 4 buckets that you see. A group of customers tell us that compliance is the main focus for them. They want their enterprise branches to be compliant. In this use case, they tell us that they want to tunnel all of the traffic from the branch all the way to the headquarters. That includes the internet-bound traffic. That, of course, provides suboptimal performance, but that is the use case. That's what they want to accomplish. To be compliant, we could leverage the enterprise firewall that is application aware and IPS solution that we have. Since there is no clear traffic that leaves the branch going to the internet, the attack surface in this use case is very minimal. Another group of customers tell us that they have guests coming into their enterprise branches, and they need to provide them good enough content filtering. So for this use case, we could leverage the enterprise firewall that's application aware, as well as URL filtering. This is an on-box feature that we could run natively on iOS XE SD-WAN image. Another group of customers tell us, well, I have my employees. I don't want to haul all of their internet traffic all the way to the headquarters, and I want to pick and choose certain SaaS applications to get optimal performance and break that out directly from the branch to the internet. Still, continue to haul the rest of the internet traffic generated by the same employees to the headquarters. We call this use case the direct cloud access use case, picking and choosing certain SaaS applications, such as O365 that Hamza talked about. Now, since in this use case, we're exposing the employee's internet traffic and sending it in the clear right out of the branch, now the attack surface is even wider than the previous use case that you see. Yet another use case is what Hamza touched on, the direct internet access, whether it is the employee's internet traffic generated at the branch or the guest traffic that is generated going to the internet. All of the internet traffic will go from the branch directly to the internet. No internet traffic is tunneled over all the way to the headquarters in this use case. So we have the enterprise firewall that is application aware, intrusion prevention, DNS web layer security. All of these can be leveraged at this branch in order to protect the assets that live behind the router. Now, SD-WAN security brings all of these security features, the full stack, into Viptela's vManage to provide that single pane of glass that David Klebanov mentioned to be able to provide provisioning, managing, monitoring, reporting, as well as troubleshooting. Now, this solution can be cloud-hosted or on-prem, depending on the customer's use case. The controllers could be spun up in the cloud or at the customer's data center. Now, the security features, the embedded on-box features, I call them out. I don't have a laser pointer, but what you see in this bubble, that's the enterprise firewall that's application aware, IPS, URL filtering, and advanced malware protection. Do you all able to see the color difference here in this bubble? That is great because that has been roadmapped and committed to be delivered in March 2019. The rest of the features are coming in this November. Now, the only cloud feature that we will be integrating is the DNS web layer protection. We'll talk about each of the security features and look at the live demo, not the recorded one. Now, what features are coming in which platforms? In all of the Cisco platforms, ISR 4K, 1K, our ENCS, which is ISR V, CSR, ASR, as well as the Viptela V edges.
So we're really talking about, these are all going to be baked into iOS XE-SD-WAN.
Correct.
As well as the Viptela vEdge.
Yes, I called out a little asterisk here to see. The ASR 1K will not get the IPS URL filtering or AMP because those three applications we run within the router's container. We take the control plane cores, the spare cores available, we run these as services using those control plane cores. And those that technology is available on the ASR 1K, just not enough cores to push all of the traffic that the ASR 1K is capable of processing. And
the software would end up being a bottleneck for the power that the 1K has, you're saying?
Yes, it is capable of processing more throughput, but the control plane cores are just not enough. And the vEdges, these do not have the control plane concept, the container concept. So for that reason, they won't be getting the IPS URL filtering or AMP, which are the container-based applications for the November release.
So on the ASR 1K, it's also a hidden box, right? So you typically, branch security is the ISR platforms. The ASR 1K is in a data center or in a hidden location where you would likely have dedicated security appliances anyways to do all of these.
So the enterprise firewall that is application aware, traditionally we've had a stateful firewall on our routers many, many years. We've integrated that with our NBAR application detection engine. So we're able to provide visibility into the 1,400 plus applications that David talked about. Thank you. You could block based on individual applications, group of applications, or category of applications, and configure the firewall policy in one pane of glass. This offers segmentation and helps with the PCI compliance of the enterprise branch. Now, the intrusion prevention, this is also an on-box capability that we run within the router's container. The signatures are released by our Talos organization, the highest efficacy in the industry. vManage is the single pane of glass. What it does is at a set interval, it polls Cisco.com. As and when new signature set is released, it goes out and grabs that signature set, the new signature set that is released, and pushes that down to all of the routers provisioned in vManage. The options that we do provide is to whitelist signatures should you see a lot of false positives. Creating new signatures or tweaking existing signatures is not supported for the November release, although we're considering that for the future. This solution with our stateful firewall that is application aware will make an enterprise branch PCI compliant branch. URL filtering, this also is an on-box capability that we're bringing in. We could run natively on iOS XE SD-WAN image as a container application or service. We provide about 82 different categories that you could block or allow. Also, each IP address in the universe gets a reputation score on a scale of 1 to 100. Low reputation, high reputation, suspicious websites, medium reputation. So the customer can choose to block or allow based on that as well. Some options we allow are custom blacklist or whitelist. Even in the blocked category, you could specifically add one particular URL and say, I'm just going to whitelist this. It doesn't matter which category it belongs to. Let the user go to that. And the custom end user notification. So if a user behind is unable to go to a category, then what do they see as a blocked page content? You could either tell them a message or write a message that they will see, or you could redirect them to call an 800 number and reach out to the help desk. The next one is the DNS web layer security. Before I move on to that one, many of them ask, what are you do with the HTTPS traffic, right? So today, no SSL decryption, but what we do is watch the packets up until encryption starts. So the client hello after the three-way handshake, and the server hello comes and the server presents its certificate. So we have the service IP address and the domain name. So we're able to block based on that. But this on-box feature looks within HTTP as well as HTTPS packets before encryption starts.
How are you able to pass the block page, if you want to say that, to redirect and say, call this 800 number like you mentioned? Mm-hmm. Because I know I've seen it with firepower. When you're doing HTTPS
yes,
without decryption, it's just
hard.
like, cannot be displayed, and it kind of stops
there. It's the same thing with our solution too. Connection has been terminated is what you see. But if it is HTTP, we're able to insert that block page.
Okay, so pretty much same exact boat. Gotcha.
Yes. All right. The DNS web layer security, this is providing content filtering at the DNS layer. Certain countries have laws against looking within HTTP or HTTPS packets. So no way to provide content filtering if the solution looks within the HTTP, HTTPS packets. So this solution intercepts the DNS packets. Doesn't matter where the destination is. We fix it up. We change the destination IP address to that of Umbrella Anycast resolvers, and we ship the packet encrypted using DNS script after we add the inside client's IP address and the device's identity over to Umbrella Cloud. Now there, Umbrella Cloud, if you have Umbrella subscription enabled, then it sends the response back based on the policies configured there. If the category is blocked, then it sends its own block page in the DNS response. And if it is an allowed category, then it sends the end web service IP address in the DNS response so the client can open up a connection to that web page. Now on the Umbrella portal, we do support TLS decryption as well as intelligent proxy. Intelligent proxy is if the verdict is going to be in the middle, gray, not white or black, then what they do is send their own proxy IP address in the DNS response. So when the client opens up a connection to the proxy, then the connection is another session is proxied out, and Umbrella gets the response to further look and see whether the web server or the response that comes back is malicious or not. Now, advanced malware protection, this has been roadmapped, committed to be delivered in March 2019. Once our device is provisioned for AMP, what we do is we watch for files that get uploaded to the internet or downloaded from the internet over a few protocols such as HTTP, FTP, SMB. And what we do is we generate an MD5 hash for that and compute a SHA, and we cross-check with the AMP Cloud to see if it has seen the SHA. So if AMP Cloud has seen it, it will be able to give us the file reputation, whether it is good or bad. And if it hasn't seen it, and if the device is also provisioned with ThreatGrid, what we have is the capability to send the entire file to ThreatGrid. So they do the sandboxing there. And once they're done with the sandboxing, they send the verdict back to the AMP Cloud. So in the future, if the same file were to be uploaded from the internet or downloaded to the internet, uploaded to the internet or downloaded from the internet, we'll be able to hear from the AMP Cloud.
And this is still, you still see all of this through vManage, not through FMC.
That is correct. I put this entire SD-WAN security demo on my UCS server. It is an M2 server, has a ton of memory and drive space. So that's what I decided to do. I don't want to take any hardware, physical device and plug in cables in my home office. So that's sitting right at my home office. And the direct internet access is through my Google Fiber router at home. Now I am from RTP, North Carolina. So I put my headquarters in Raleigh, North Carolina. And down here I have two little branch offices, and I have hosts sitting behind each of these. So for these hosts to talk to each other, they use this MPLS router. This MPLS router and this INET router, they're running the traditional iOS XE image. The other three routers, one at the headquarters and two at the branch offices, they are running the iOS XE SD-WAN image. Now, if these hosts behind all of these branches and headquarters want to go to the internet, they take this direct internet path, the green line that you see, talk to my iNet router, also with my UCS server, and out using the Google Fiber network, they go out to the internet. So let's see. So once you're logged into vManage, let me see if I can sit here, show this better. So under the configuration section, we've added a security option here to be able to configure the security features. Yeah, trying to. All right, under the security option, we could create a new security policy. So once you do that, this is the intent-based use cases that we talked about. If you pick compliance use case, we show you the workflow for the features that are required for that particular use case. And if you choose the guest access use case, we show you the workflow for the enterprise firewall and the URL filtering that we can configure that can be run on the box. Direct cloud access and direct internet access, it's the same thing. If you don't choose any of those four, we can always go the custom route and proceed and start configuring your features. If you're not interested in firewall, just go next and go to the next feature. But I'll show you the security policy that I have configured here. Let's edit this policy. Now under the firewall section, I have added just 4 simple rules to be able to allow HTTP, HTTPS, DNS, and ICMP to go from inside to outside. This policy is going to be tied to the feature template, and this is the one that is deployed to all of the 3 CSRs that you saw on the topology. Now for the intrusion prevention, this UI is very intuitive. The only 2 mandatory items that we ask you to provide is what signature set do you want to implement between balance, security, and connectivity. We've already been asked from customers as to what the difference is between the 3, and we're going to add this little I that you see here right here by the signature set so that it will show you what the difference is. The difference actually is the number of signatures that are enabled by default. The other mandatory item that we ask is, do you want IPS inline or do you want that in the detection mode, meaning it will only show you what's going on, but will not be able to drop packets should a signature be fired. And once that is done, just for the slick look, we put anything that's not mandatory under the advanced option. So this is where you would whitelist signatures should you see a lot of false positive. And we show you how to import that from the local computer very easily. You could add a new signature list. If you do that, we show you syntax, how that whitelist file should look like. Open a notepad text edit and add those signatures in the syntax that we show you here, and you can quickly import that from local computers, just as simple as that. And changing the log level. So those are the 2 items that we buried under the advanced option, so you get the slick look of the UI. And finally, enable that on the VPNs. Which VPN do you want? Both ingress and egress packets are subject to IPS. Now the URL filtering piece. This is also a container-based application. Very simple. The UI is so slick. You tell us whether you want to block or allow and what categories. We pre-populate all of the 82 categories here. It's just a matter of putting checks on these boxes, and that will show you the count that increases as well as soon as you do that. And add that towards the end, the 2 categories that we added. And provide web reputation. Do you want your users to go to suspicious websites, high-risk websites? I would never want our users to go, so my choice is to go allow only moderate and above, so low risk and trustworthy. And anything else that's not mandatory for this feature to work, we put that under the advanced option. This is where you could provide us a custom whitelist URL, all regex-based blacklist URL, as well as a blocked page content. So if it is, again, HTTPS page, we will not see the blocked page. It's just going to show you connection timed out. Or if this character limitation that we have here, I believe it's 256 characters, if that isn't enough, then we could simply redirect them to a completely different website that's hosted within the company, or even outside. The DNS web layer security, let's go ahead and edit that and take a look at this. This feature you can apply per VPN. So in this, what we could say, let's see, I'm still not in the DNS piece. You can pick VPNs and say, for this particular VPN, I want to redirect all the DNS packets to Umbrella. And for these VPNs, I want to redirect the DNS packets to a completely different custom DNS server. It could be a Google DNS server or Route 53 or other DNS servers. And under the advanced option, the DNS script is enabled by default, meaning we encrypt the packet after we add the eDNS metadata, which includes the inside client's IP address as well as the router's identity. Once all of this is done, we show you the policy summary page. And here, for the container-based applications, we could specify which log collector, could be Live Action, Curate, or any other Splunk log collector, an external log collector, the IP address of it, and which VPN it needs to take in order to get to that. Now let's go and see how to tie in this policy to the device template. So this particular device template, the CSR 1000V template, is the one that is attached to the 3 devices. So I go here, edit that, and all the way down to the bottom is where we have the security policy. You could have multiple security policies based on use cases, based on different devices that you want to attach. And the next one is the template for our application hosting. So there's one little manual piece that needs to be done. This container-based application includes or runs a virtual image that we need to upload to the software repository. So if you go here and click on the virtual image, this image is the one that runs our application in the container. So all of the provisioning happens automatically, but this is a manual step. We need to go to CCO, and this image lives exactly where the iOS XE SD-WAN image lives. Grab that, upload it right here using the same UI, and it gets provisioned automatically. So now that the policy is all deployed, let's take a look at the overall dashboard. We've added 3 new widgets on the bottom that you see. Starting November release, the 18.4 vManage will have these 3 widgets. The iOS XE SD-WAN image is 16.10.1 image that will be posted on CCO end of November. So here's the firewall widget. You could toggle between inspected and dropped. This gives you an overview of all 3 routers in your enterprise, at least in the demo topology that I have. Gives you 1 hour break, and you could switch to 3 hours, 6 hours, 24 hours, and 7 days. So at any point, you can click and say, see how many sessions the firewall has inspected across the 3 routers and process that. You could also toggle to dropped counters. I have scripts running on these Ubuntu hosts, so it constantly sends traffic to populate the data on the dashboard. So you could toggle, you could look at the drop packets. Let's look at the past 1 hour, how many packets that these 3 routers have dropped. And at any point, you could click on that, and it shows the drops. At that point, was 78 drops, and that happened on these 3 routers. So you can click on that individual router. It shows the system IP address, but then we've asked we've been asked to include the host name instead of IP address, and we will be including the host name for the FCS release. So it shows you the reasons for which the firewall dropped these packets. So that amount of drilling down is possible here. What we do is generate show commands and keep sending them to vManage, and vManage populates that. The amount of disk space that you allocate to vManage, it's capable of holding data for a longer period of time. And if you have an API-capable device, it can make an API call and grab all of this information that vManage has. For the IPSPs, you could toggle between severity versus count. The high severity is color-coded in red, and the medium severity in blue. And that, again, is automatically goes to the 24-hour view. You could toggle that to the 3 hours to see what signatures got triggered in the entire enterprise across the 3 routers in my topology. So the 2 signatures have been triggered. One that went 481 times, and it's a medium severity. And this one triggered about 460 times, and that is the critical alert. So you could click on this particular signature, and we even show you the source IP address, so one in VLAN 20, VLAN 30, and VLAN 10 on the topology, and the destination IP address that they go to, which VPN they belong to, and how many times the signature was triggered in the last 24 hours. And now moving on to the URL filtering widget, this could also be toggled between blocked versus allowed. So let's look at the allowed category. It's not going to populate all 82 categories here. We populate the categories for which we see traffic. So if you look at the real estate category here in yellow, this shows that we've allowed 12,706 sessions across 3 routers in the past 24 hours. We give you a breakdown of I know this is past, it needs to be renamed to sessions, and it will be done. We filed a defect to get that addressed, as well as populate the host name instead of the system IP address here. Now that covers the overall dashboard. Now if we look at the individual device dashboard, we go under the network. I have 3 edges, one in Cary, one in Durham, and Raleigh. So we could click on one particular device to see what options are available. Here under the security monitoring, we have firewall, intrusion prevention, URL filtering, as well as umbrella redirect. It's the same amount of drilling down that we offer. And we show you all of the protocols that we allowed, HTTP, HTTPS, DNS, and ICMP, and the breakdown. Anything else that you don't allow here is going to be caught in the class default. And intrusion prevention is the same thing that you saw in the overall dashboard. URL filtering, about the same thing that you saw, maybe a little bit more drilling down. I'm being asked to just finish this session. But the umbrella redirect piece I would like to show. This clearly shows that this device has successfully registered with umbrella, and we've been redirecting packets. So at what time and date and how many packets that we redirected. We also provide an option to bypass local domains. If it is an internal-only domain for which we don't have an A record created for the outside, then there is no reason to redirect those DNS packets to Umbrella Cloud. So this is, again, pattern matching based on regex. I do have it configured, but not enough traffic to bypass that. For those DNS packets, we don't even touch them. We let that DNS packet to go wherever it was destined to go. The rest of the DNS packets, we intercept and fix up the destination IP address. And that completes my demo today. If you have any questions, I'll take them at this time. Sorry, I went over a few minutes to comp for the technical difficulty that I had. How do you all like the UI, the dashboard, overall dashboard, the device-specific dashboard?
It's good. It's just very security focused. I was just wondering, for example, who's going to manage that?
This tool has been very focused on NetOps versus SecOps. So that's why you don't see, if you're familiar with the FMC management tool, that is geared more towards the SecOps, and this is geared more towards the NetOps. So anybody can take a look at it and understand what is going on.
I think even if you've looked at FMC before, this is very familiar. Like when you got to the IPS part and you were talking
Yes.
about the different levels,
Yes,
it's worded the same as, say,
It's the same thing. Like David was talking about, right? We took, or Rohan was talking about. So we did. It's the firepower piece. It's for IPS, AVC, URL filtering, AMP, and the ACL piece, right? The access rule base. So we separated the IPS and the AVC that they have. Just took the IPS piece and we're running that, and that's why you see the same signature set, right? It's just when you see the signature set released for firepower, you see the exact same signature set released for these that we could download from CCL.